So keep on throwing it in here. I want to know city, state, type of job. And that can be, yeah, if you're transitioning from sales to digital marketing, hey, Pam, that's awesome. If you can maybe throw in here, Pam, tell me your industry. Like I'm transitioning from sales in this type of sales to digital marketing in this industry. So like, for instance, I'm moving from hiring SaaS sales to home repair, digital marketing, something like that. Throw it in. We're about ready to get started. I'm just going to make sure that I can get my content sharing here. Forgive me, this is going to run probably between 1 and 2 hours long. You can leave whenever you want. I'm recording the whole entire thing. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. But I'm going to flow this content out till we're done with questions. And so I'll try to have our initial training in the first hour, show you exactly how to do, what to do, how it works, etc. And then in the last while, I'll actually go through and show you how I do this kind of stuff, how to make it work, and answer any questions you have. So if you want some help, just really quick here, if you want me to use you as an example, I have a little request for you. You're going to jump over, and I'm going to put my email in here, Ryan@Refer.io. You're going to jump over really quick while I'm getting the rest of this fired up. Send me a link to your LinkedIn profile, to your resume, to a job that you're interested in. And if you can, some people who do the job now on LinkedIn. Up to those 4 pieces of information. You don't have to send it to me, and you can send it to me anytime during the thing. And during the webinar, and if I don't get a chance to look at your stuff, I will actually go and run through the whole thing and record you a video. So that's my offer for today. And so take a minute, write down my email address, Ryan@Refer.io. You can go over to your inbox. At the end, I'll show you my email address. If you send it right now, I might go snag it and use you as an example today. If not, I will definitely go through and do a free one. I do have somebody here who's going to be helping me. Let's see if I can get her. I will promote her to a panelist just in case she wants to talk. But Abigail, my new employee, who's helping me kick off this project, will be here kind of answering those emails and helping and supporting. Say hi, Abigail. Wave.
Hi, everyone.
You don't have to keep your video on. We can't hear you because you're muted. So anyway, so yeah, so we're gonna the question was what is the email address again? It's just Ryan@Refer.io. So let me get this fired up really quick here, get my deck loaded. Sorry, I'm a little frantic, but literally I decided to do this webinar this morning. I don't want you to think that means that like I don't know what I'm doing. So just if you know me, I'm going to give you like a little about me section here, but just in case you're curious, I started using ChatGPT about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I probably spend somewhere around 40 hours a week using it. And let that sink in. That's how much of my personal time I spend using ChatGPT for all kinds of stuff. I've taught webinars. Let's see, I got to get this to let me share really quick here. Yeah, so I do have a paid one, but I don't believe that you need one. So that you know, a paid version is $20. I would honestly suggest you get it, but you don't have to. Nothing. I'm not going to ask for any money today. Just so everybody knows, I don't have an offering for you to buy. I do have some cool new stuff coming out that you'll want to get involved in, but I have nothing to sell you. So this isn't a sales pitch. I don't make money on ChatGPT. So if you use, if you go by ChatGPT, it doesn't help me at all. So just so everybody hears that, okay? This is pure value. You may want to know kind of who I am. Let's start with the first part. I'm seeing a lot of this. I did an email blast out to a group of office admins offering to train them on ChatGPT. And along with a lot of people telling me to F off, which was super interesting, I got at least this one response back. Not only will I never use Chat AI, I firmly believe anyone who does is a fraud. So we have to start with this right here so that everybody understands it, because there's no way you haven't heard of ChatGPT. But the first thing we have to do is separate in our minds school and work, okay? School and work. In the schools, which actually I learned about ChatGPT because I picked up my 15-year-old one day from school, and he said, hey, we were messing around with this new cool thing in our coding class, and that sparked this whole thing off. School, I totally understand why schools struggle with ChatGPT. I understand that the goal of school is to teach students to memorize things, to be able to create and get their knowledge out, to be able to research and organize knowledge, and then to write something that is theirs for the world. Cool. But just so everybody understands, work is not like that. That is not what it's like to work. It isn't. I am not, as an employer. I just left Applicant Pro, which had 280 employees. I grew it from nothing up to like over $30 million a year. Now I'm at Refer full-time, where I have, between Refer and 321 Forms, maybe like 15 employees. I am not going to think they're cheating by using ChatGPT at work. Let me just put it out there. I'm not going to think they're cheating. I'm not going to think they're a fraud. I'm not going to think they're evil for using ChatGPT to create content for work to do their job. And that is our first kind of divide part. We have to separate out, I'm using it to cheat at school is different than I'm using it to crush it at work. Now, that brings us into this middle area of, is it cheating to use ChatGPT for applying for jobs, for using to build my resume? Like we're going to talk about resume today. In the upcoming week, I'm going to record 5 more of these sessions where I'll teach you how to prepare for interviews with it, how to follow up with it, how to network with it, how to launch your 90 days on a new job, and even how to teach people or help people with their own careers. Okay. It is not cheating. And this is where this transition comes from. I want you to think less about AI as some like evil robot that's taking your job, and less of AI like it's some thing that automates everything for you. And instead think about it as it's a really powerful mixture of Google from a search engine's perspective and templates from like going and grabbing a resume template. So really quick, as we start off, I want to know, put in the chat a yes or a no. Yes means actually what you're going to type in is template. If you used a template, some template you found online to create your current resume, I want you to type template. If you paid somebody to write your resume for you, I want you to put paid. And the last one is, if you literally started from scratch, pulled out a blank piece of paper and made your own resume, you can put scratch. Template, paid, scratch. Okay. So here's the thing. If we look through this group of people now, also, if you think about what they teach you in high school, what they teach you in college, what they teach you if you go to a career fair, if you go to career services, if you go anywhere, they will teach you, start with a template, make adjustments to it to make it your own. That's no different than using ChatGPT. It's just our template is coming from AI, but it's basically like using a template to do it. Only instead of just using a template to do it, we're also going to use, if you paid somebody to help you with it, some of this was paid, cool. So if you paid, was that not cheating? If you used a template, was that not cheating? What I'm going to show you is how to do it yourself with ChatGPT, using ChatGPT as the template and the coach to coach you on how to do it. Make sense? And so that's our first part. Now, is it evil like you're cheating to get a job? You're definitely going to be smarter than everybody else. And here's the second way to tee this up, because one of the questions you will get asked, I believe, is, did you use ChatGPT on your resume as you were preparing, etc.? If it was me personally, I would actually put ChatGPT as one of my skills in my resume. After you've gone through these 5 webinars I'm doing for free, you can literally put it as your skill. And instead of trying to hide that you used an assistant to write it, instead you want to own it. Hey, look, I use my amazing ChatGPT skills to do this, because if you hire me, I'm going to use those skills at work to do twice as much as everybody else. And so that's our way to kind of change our paradigm on this. So here's the problem. Out there in the world, I usually am doing HR presentations. There is what's called a huge talent gap. It used to be a talent shortage before COVID. Now we'll call it a talent crisis. There is a massive lack. This number right here is the number of openings, and this is the number of unemployed. Now, that doesn't mean that only unemployed people get jobs, but if you think about it, if we have 2 jobs, or I think right now it's 1.7 jobs for every unemployed person, that means that even if all the unemployed people were hired to do the jobs, we would still have a shortage. And Elon and a lot of people are worried about we're going to have a population not enough workers. The way we solve for not enough workers to do what needs done is we get the workers to be able to do more with less time. And that is my goal of AI. But if you just think about it from a job seeker standpoint, this is a huge problem. Now, what's funny is a lot of employers are giving up and not trying that hard to solve for it as far as on hiring and in being competitive, and also in just thinking that they can fix it at all. My story, just so you know, if you don't know me, I go by Ryan Kohler, Ryan K. Ryan Kohler, if I'm at Applicant Pro, which is a SaaS hiring software company. I helped over 10,000 employers over the last 17 years to hire people. 10 times in a row on the Inc. 5000 list, 280 employees. I know a whole lot about the people that you're trying to get in front of, like an insane amount of knowledge. On the other hand, I have Ryan K at Refer.io, where I help job seekers find jobs. And so today I'm here on the part of Refer.io and our new tool called Refer Buddy to provide this education. But just so you know, that's where I sit. I have this kind of vantage point of I'm not an HR person. I'm not a recruiter. I built software and taught HR people how to recruit. And then I also have this huge following of people via email. I send over 100 million emails a month to job seekers to help them get jobs. And so today's webinar, the goal is to say, you should listen to me. Now, when I was at Applicant Pro, I ran this very specific strategy where big companies will buy their talent. That means they're spending money on ads. They're paying more than everybody else. You're hoping, this is what most employers do. And me at Applicant Pro, I actually grew my own talent. I hired people and helped grow them into super powerful people, okay? I hired 280 employees. Of that, 80% were working moms who had never worked in tech, never worked in hiring, never worked in HR. And so I grew my own talent from inside. Now I'm here teaching you how to fill in the gap for these people, right? You could definitely get a job at a big giant company that has tons of cash, but instead I'm going to show you how to fill in the gap and become the person who can take this job and do a job for an employer and do it for substantially less effort than they think it should take, but still get paid the same. And the first part of that is learning how to apply and actually get an interview. So what does this have to do with me? Well, the funny thing is with that shortage, you still have a bunch of people complaining that they're applying for jobs and not getting resumes or not getting interviews. And so real quick in the chat, go over to the chat. I want to know what your current conversion rate is. Conversion rate is how many applications do you have to submit via job boards, via whatever, to get one interview? Meaning, does it take you 100 applications and 100 resumes to get to one interview? Does it take you 10 to 1? I want to know, what do you do to get to one interview? Nana says 100 to 1. She has to apply to 100 jobs to get one interview, not to get a job, to get an interview. Okay, 75 to 100. This is pretty normal. Now, understand, you can go from 75 to 100 down to 10 to 1, and that's my goal, is to apply to fewer jobs, but be more likely to get interviews. And so I'm going to teach you the different hacks to do that. This first part of it is, how do I build a resume that will get me the interview? Next webinar that we'll probably do tomorrow, and I'll send an invite out if you can make it. I'd love to have you there. If not, I'll get you a recording, is how do I apply using AI so that I get an interview, right? And so I'm going to show you today. We'll focus on, can we build a resume? Tomorrow we'll focus on, can we apply in a way that gets us a resume or an interview? My goal is to increase your rate. So I want you to actually go and get your real rate, figure out what your rate is. I want to increase your rate by 50%, meaning I want to lower it. So if you're 100 to 1, I want to get that to 50 to 1. AI will help with any type of job, Shelly. I don't care what it is. I'm going to show you. You're just using AI as your helper. Okay, this is your helper to do it. And so that's what our goal is with this. And so for the very first part, you need to understand getting a job is about really, 3 or 4 main things. Number one is content, meaning you have to produce content, a resume, a cover letter, a pain letter, a follow-up email, content to come out of your mouth in an interview. You have to create content. This is how are you going to express your past, where you're at today, and how you can help this company? Why should they hire you? Content. We then have actually getting in front of people? Can I use that content to actually get in front, get an audience with people? And then can we close the deal? Can we actually like close the deal, show up the right way, etc.? Those are our 3 parts. So we have to create great content, we have to get in front of people, and we have to seal the deal. The one that we would put out in front if we were making it a 4-part framework is focus. We have to actually be very deliberate and intentional about what we're trying to do. What type of job at what type of company do we want to get? Very, very intentional. Intentional means it's what we're thinking about. It means what we're learning and reading about, where we're putting our efforts, and the last part of like where we're actually evolving and changing ourselves, these 4 parts. And so we're going to start with the resume. If you don't really know, hey, I know exactly what kind of job I want. Hey, I know who I want to become. It's okay. I'll do another webinar on that one. The goal of today's webinar is if you kind of know who you want to become or what job you want, you know the jobs, you have a resume, you have hopefully some other people's resumes that you can look at and say, oh yeah, I've got these other people that I'm, they're my kind of role model, would be the way that I try to put it. You have a role model. And so that's how we're going to flow this. The goal is not to have AI do it for you. And I already covered this isn't cheating. But more importantly, the goal is not for AI to do it for you. Your goal in the hiring process, as well as in, will this approach deal with applicant tracking system filtering? Today's won't, but the next one will, but I can show you it will actually help you with that. Yeah, like this solves all of those same problems when you create your resume. And so this is about having your own personal assistant in the job search who is a really, really smart AI. It still means you have to be the leader. You have to drive forward. You have to ask it for the right things and teach it the right things. But imagine if you could hire like Tinkerbell to help you get a job. You still have to tell Tinkerbell, or think of the genie in the lamp. Maybe that's a good one, right? This is ChatGPT is your genie and you're Aladdin to get a job. That's the way to think about it. We still have to decide the question to ask. We still have to decide what we want, or we're going to be unhappy with what the genie gives us. And that's really the best way to think about this flow. So AI is going to be our helper, which means we're going to put information into it and then ask it to give us back what we want. And we want to turn this into a system when it comes to getting a job. You should be able to get so good at this because it's actually easy that you could apply to any job you want and have say like a 1 in 5 chance of getting an interview. That is, if you're willing to put in the effort, a 1 in 5 chance of getting an interview is very much a possibility just off what we're going to teach, and then a very high probability of getting the job and what we're going to teach through these 5 or 6 sessions. And so I firmly do believe in it. Abigail's here. She will be doing the homework as we go, but just so everybody knows, Abigail had never had a job working for somebody. Maybe she had 2 jobs in high school working for somebody who wasn't a family member. We went up to Montana one weekend, and she is my fiance's daughter. She moved to Montana, 19 years old. We got her a job in a weekend. So that was a job as a waitress at a pizza place. Now the goal is to show, can Abigail go from waiter at a pizza place, waitress at a pizza place, to legit office marketing job? That's what our goal is. And so as we go through this training, I'm going to follow up with the recording of me teaching it, but Abigail's actually going to implement what I teach and record what she did to show that she can level up from that job into a really high quality job and get interviews and get offers. She may not actually take it because I think she likes working for me better, but she's going to get interviews and offers as we go. So this is kind of like a 2-week crash course in how to use AI to get a better job, and then how to use AI to help other people and to also work, to do a work. Our goal, how do we measure success? Better, faster, cheaper, easier. That's what our goal is, meaning, can we get it done so the quality of our resume is better? Do we get it done faster in a quicker amount of time? Cheaper meaning I didn't have to pay for it or something like that. And easier meaning I could spin it around faster. If Abigail leaves, I might want her job, please. Yes, I mean, that is a possibility. And so I'll actually teach you how to do this, Rose, Pam. So that's kind of the goal. So our goal of today is to build our resume genius. You're Aladdin. I'm going to show you ChatGPT, the genie, and I'm going to show you how to use that genie so that you get the wishes you want. It's our best way to think about it. So I have a 7-step process that I go through and when I'm using AI, and I just want to show you when it comes to like what we get. This is what we get out of AI. It's an actual math equation. And so I'm going to show you your paradigm times your effort times how good of a prompt you use equals the value you get out of AI. Most people right now training on it, and this effort equals context. So it's basically, if you want to know how good ChatGPT is, I can tell you how good it is going to be for you right now. Do you believe it's going to be good? And what do you believe it could, how do you view it as being a part of this? Do you view it as it's going to take over your life and do it for you? Or do you believe this is your genie in the bottle if you tell it the right things? Your paradigm times your effort to put in context. Will you actually give it knowledge about what you're trying to do times the prompts you use, what you ask it for back in return. That will equal the value. And so what you'll see is somebody will get ChatGPT for the first time and say, I logged into ChatGPT and I said, create me a resume for a waitress, and it wasn't very good. Cool. Well, the prompt you just gave it wasn't very good, but you get 0 for context and 0 for paradigm. You thought that it was going to do it all for you. You gave it almost no backstory whatsoever. You used a weak prompt. And so the value you got was like, oh, I mean, it's like we're 10 points. If you want to get $1,000 worth of every time that you're using it worth of value, then you're going to have to change these other 2 parts. Today, I'm going to give you what we call the 100% paradigm. You will understand how to think about AI. I think about AI as the genie in the bottle. I get out of it what I put into it. I have to be able to trick and ask the right questions or I'm going to be sad. Number 2, the context. How do I give it the right context so that it knows what to do, so that it has the backstory? And then number 3, how do I ask it the right prompt to help create me the kind of content I need to create an awesome resume? Now, you are going to be left with some effort on your side when you get done. This publish right here, you're going to have to format it, make it look pretty, okay? Chat, as far as today, ChatGPT is not going to make your resume look pretty. But for most of you, I can tell you the reason you're not getting interviews has nothing to do with how pretty your resume is. So you can easily go find a template in Word or in Google Docs of a resume that looks good, that has a good design. I'm more focused on, can we get the right content for the resume, the right concept for the questions to answer so that when we go and apply, we can actually get the job. So today we're focused on resume. We might get just a little bit into what do I need to do to make myself more likely to get the job, but that's our focus just for today. Does that make sense, everybody? Do we have any questions as of right now? I'm not using the Q&A area. And so if you have a question, I want you to throw it in the chat because that's what's flowing in front of me. So as we're going, more than happy to hear your comments. If you love it, just tell me you love it so I get some positive feedback here. So now I'm going to show you how we break this up. So the first part is our paradigm, which I already explained, right? Aladdin and the genie. If you ask bad questions to a genie because you only get 3 wishes, you're not going to end up with something that's truly life-changing. We need a paradigm that says this is just Aladdin and the genie, and it's our job to use the genie the right way, to use its powers, not just for good, but to help us. Number 2 is the story, this right here. This is what I call the backstory. I might also call it context. This is what most people don't do. It is, what did you teach ChatGPT to give it context about what you're trying to accomplish? You have to give it your context. You cannot just give it a prompt. Now, you can technically just use prompt. I'll show you what happens when we do this, but I'm going to show you the main thing that I'm going to teach you today is this context. Can I get you to 100% on context and effort, meaning go in and feed it what it needs so that you get back out of it what you want, and then we'll spend a small amount of time on the prompting, how to prompt it, what kind of prompts to use, etc. I'll follow up via email with some additional prompts as Abigail's going through and doing her side, the actual homework of it. We'll come up with more prompts to share. And so just so you know, like But this main part is kind of the story, the target, the context. Can I actually give it? So let's start with the backstory. In order to get our new genie in the bottle for jobs to help us get a job by writing an awesome resume, we need to feed it some information so it has something to work with. Now, yes, ChatGPT has inhaled all of Google. Cool. And it's about 3 years old. I can get it to actually pull in information in the recent by doing Google searches. But most importantly, I need to decide what kind of information I want to feed into it. If I leave it up to itself, then it's just coming up on its own with what kind of backstory to run. And it might choose the wrong backstory. My backstory comes from 4 main parts. Number 1 is the job ad. This would be, I go out and I look and I say, I'm looking for a certain job in an industry at a certain size of company with a certain role or business area. With a certain role. So this is our first part of feeding at our backstory. So for instance, I'm going to go apply for a job this week just to show you how this works. I haven't applied for a job and had an interview in like 20 years. All right. I've been a CEO. I'm not the kind of person you want to hire, but I'm going to go apply for a job. Right. So if I was using myself as the example here, the industry I would want to apply in is probably B2B or SaaS, business to business services or business to business software. That's what I do. That's the industry. Size. I don't want to work for a giant company because they hate me working for them. It's like the Navy and I'm Captain Jack Sparrow. I also don't want to work for a startup. I'd like to work for a company that has proven that it has a good product and a good team, right? And so I want to actually take and figure out my target size of company. For me, it most likely is a company with something around 20, I don't know, I'm going to guess I'm looking for companies that are 25 to 100 employees, right? They should be doing somewhere in the range. Over 100, I'm going to hate their culture. Under 25, I'm going to want to be the boss. And so I want to apply for a job in this 25 to 100 employee business area. The industry we said was B2B or SaaS. So business area, I might say, I want to be in growth, which is most likely marketing or demand gen. I don't want to be a salesperson. I want to work one to many. So that means most likely I'm helping them generate leads. I'm helping them do webinars, something like that. But I don't want to be the salesperson who closes the deals. That's the area. Now, the role is super interesting. I mean, clearly I could go apply for a CEO job, but that wouldn't help you guys out. So I'm most likely looking for a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, or something in either the demand gen or growth. So that's the kind of job I want. So I'm going to be doing this homework to show you the high side of this, meaning I have an MBA, I have a college degree, I built my own companies, I've hired people, I'm going to go apply for a job. Now, Abigail, on the other hand, is going to take the lower side of this. Abigail is going to look at this and say, I want to get a job in probably the B2B world because I like helping people get business to business jobs. She wants to do marketing, specifically trade shows. She's going to look for a company probably similar size to mine. They need to be big enough that they're going to trade shows and that they can generate leads and do something with it, but not so big that they have a huge marketing department. For her, she's probably looking for a company that has between 10 and maybe 100 employees. She wants it to be a B2B company. She's going to have to pick the offer, like what they sell and who they sell it to, the target, based on stuff she's interested in. So for instance, she might want to go work for a company that sells hiring software to restaurants. She has restaurant knowledge and experience because she worked as a waitress there, and she wants to help them sell hiring software. Cool. That would be her target. And so that will give you, now she could go and research what the actual titles are because they're going to be pretty varied. They're going to be marketing, B2B marketing, demand generation, trade show marketing, marketing assistant, admin, all that kind of stuff. Most likely it's a marketing type job, not a sales job, but that's kind of what she's looking for. But again, she's coming from a She has a high school diploma. She has experience in, let's see, DJing and going to like managing like entertainment stuff at carnivals. She has experience as a waitress. And she has some initial marketing experience she's learned with me in the last 3 or 4 months, just randomly on the side. We're going to show her getting an amazing job too. And so both of us are going to run the homework to make and show you examples of how this works. So that's the backstory, our job ad. We need to go out and find those companies. The role model would be going to Indeed. We're going to go to Indeed and we're going to go to LinkedIn and we're going to find us some examples of people who are currently doing the job we want. They are currently doing the job that we want to get. I need their resumes too. This is going to give us what the employers are looking for from the job ad and what the employers like because somebody hired these people to do the job I want. This is giving us the context that we need. This is kind of like third-party information. This will be our external context. Now, over here, we have our internal context, okay? This is us, our current resume, and potential. This is what we can do. Because let's be honest, our resume doesn't always say what we could do. What we want to do, what we believe we can do, the impact that we could make on a company in the job. Resume, this is what we've done, what we've learned. Potential, this is the impact we can make. These are the 4 pieces of content. This is much more internal, right? This is also going to tell us where our gaps are. Or, dude, if you get that job, you're going to have to solve this in the first 90 days because you kind of like fake to tell you made it. I'm totally good with that. Fake it till you make it, as long as you're not my doctor or my pilot, we're good with it. It's just you have a plan for how you're going to get up to speed and do this job, right? So that's our 4 parts. Does this make sense to everybody? I want to make sure everybody's still here. Somebody jump into the chat and say, this makes perfect sense to me, or this sounds batshit crazy. You can do either one. Those are the only 2 options though, okay? So all good. Thanks, Randy. So now I'm going to give you the roadmap that we're going to go through. Content cleanup. This really has to do with what is the flow that we're going to use. And it's kind of what I just described. We're going to start by picking our job, becoming very clear about our focus. Hey, we're focused on this job. This is the kind of job we want, etc. We're going to use Indeed to get us the job ads and resumes. We're going to use LinkedIn to get us links to the resumes, right? We're then going to use ChatGPT to come up with an interview question. This is a set of questions for us to ask ourselves to grab our potential out of us, why you should want to hire me. We're going to use otter.ai to record our audio and turn it into text so that we can then plug it back into ChatGPT and have it help us create our resume that we will then have to take and format in Google Drive or something like that. Make sense to everybody? That's the flow that we're going to go through. I'm going to try to drag you through most of this flow tonight. I will walk through the whole process. We may follow up. If you attended, I'll send you a follow-up email with me and Snail. Sorry, I call her Snail. Abigail, me and Snail will go through this on our sides and show you our work so you can see exactly that we made this same exact process. We went from finding a job to finding ads, finding resumes, finding links to profiles, feeding that into ChatGPT to come back with some really great content about what we need to figure out, what we need to answer for, how to use Otter to do it, to ask ourselves the questions, and then how to feed that back into ChatGPT to build a resume. Now, I got to warn you right now, we're 40 minutes in, and this is definitely going to take longer than the 1 hour. So let's build our resume genius. We're going to walk through this process, and I'm actually going to show you how we do it. I might actually have to go back because I really liked this chart right here to walk us through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can jump over to my own computer really quick. So hold, please. Let me see if I can switch my screen share. I can. and go stop sharing. There we go. All right, perfect. So I open up these 4 tabs. I'm going to put them in the right order here, right? Indeed, LinkedIn, Otter, ChatGPT. Now, I just want to know, like, just really quick, where are we at? If you're going to grade this from 1 out of 10 right now, give me a grade on this. Is maybe not what I expected, but I can see where this is going. This is great content. I feel like it's valuable to me. 1 through 10 in the chat right now. 8, I'll take an 8. Hey, I'll take a 2 if you tell me the reason what I can do to make it better. Don't worry. So, perfect. Right on target. For those of you who are lower than 9, I'm getting there. You're going to see this stuff come together pretty fast. By the time, my goal is that you guys all give me a 10. All right? That's my goal. And that's okay. We're just taking votes just partway through. So I'm going to start right here with my own stuff. I'm going to say, look, I'm looking for a job in demand generation, B2B. So I'm starting with Indeed. I'm trying to find a job that has the kind of company, the kind of job that I'm looking for. There's these data engineers. That's not me. Lead generation specialist, maybe. Front-end engineer. Yeah, that's perfect, AG. That's what I can guarantee you. By the end of this, you'll give me a 10, and there's no way that you knew what it was going to be because I didn't know what it was going to be before I started, right? Okay, so good question. It looks to me like how to get someone a job who's not qualified. No, I'll show you. At the end of the day, you want to make sure your resume is you or is you with your potential. I'm not suggesting to lie, okay? But you've got to have the right resume for what you can do in the future. And let's be honest, there's a lot of people. Yeah, and so I'll show you this flow and I'll show you exactly the approach so that it isn't like you're not doing something wrong. Cool. So I'm going to start here. And so I want some type of a B2B. Maybe I got to change this to marketing B2B because not everybody's going to call it demand generation, right? I'm looking for a B2B job in marketing, in demand or growth or something like that. And I'm using the Las Vegas area just because it gives me a good starting. Growth marketing manager. This is probably a good one for me. CoinCloud. Perfect, right? Responsible for leading, executing their CoinCloud's growth marketing. Excellent. Love this job. Something in the crypto space. That's cool. Director of product management, identity and biometrics. That might be interesting. Director of global marketing platforms. Now I can see through here some of these, it may be that the company's too big, right? Because again, we had a very specific target that I was after. Global marketing platform, senior product manager, mobile apps. Apparently Aristocrat has something open. So I've got a couple here. This is awesome. Digital business operations. I could totally do that too. B2B sales reps at a beyond. I don't want to do that job. Perfect. So makes sense at this point. I found me some jobs. This was my first part. And so I've got me some jobs of what I want to do. And I'm going to start with this coin one because I think it looks kind of interesting here, CoinCloud. And clearly I can get this job all day. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab this job. I'm going to jump over to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, can you help me create a resume to apply for a growth marketing or demand generation B2B job, right? So I'm starting this out like this is just my buddy. Now, at this point, what did I just do? I gave it a prompt with no context. It's going to reply back to me a very generic reply because I literally just said, hey, Genie, get me a great job. I didn't actually tell the Genie what kind of job would be great for me. Therefore, it's going to spit back a whole bunch of stuff, okay? And so here's an example where a resume might look like, hey, that's super cool, right? So I've started with, this is the kind of job I want. I might say, here is an example job that I'm interested in. And then I'm going to paste in what I got from Indeed, right? So I just threw the job in there. And I'm actually going to go find a couple more. So I'm going to jump back over here to Indeed really quick. Sorry, I got to get one of these things out of the way. There we go. I'm going to jump back over here Indeed. So I like this growth marketing manager. I really like this aristocrat right here. He member of the, I'm just seeing. So this company is probably a lot bigger than I would want to work for. And I bet they would hate my guts, but it's an option. Gaming marketing globally. Cool. So I like this group right here. And so I'm going to go ahead. I don't know what kind of gaming it is, but we're just going to use these two as our example. So I went ahead and copied it. Here is another job option. Oh, wait. Nope, I didn't copy it the right way. Ooh, slam. All right, so I have the content. Copy. I'm going to jump back over here. I'm going to, here is another example. And I might go ahead and run one more just because Las Vegas isn't a very good area for me. I'm going to change this to be Lehi, Utah, because I live in St. George. So I live halfway in between Lehi, Utah, and Las Vegas. And so this, but there's a lot more tech companies up north. So this is a good one right here. Senior Director, Demand Generation. I love this job. It would be super cool to work for Lendio. I believe they're bigger than I should be looking at, but that's okay. And so we're going to use this job as well. Here is a third one. So I'm just feeding it the jobs that I'm interested in. I basically said, look, here's route. Well, I've grown up in marketing, demand generation. Okay, so I've got a handful of these. This gives a good starting point, right? So that was step one. I just fed Indeed a bunch of jobs that I'm interested in. And so I might say, can you review the 3 job ads that I gave you and come up with some job titles to search LinkedIn for to get example resumes. Cool. So now I'm about ready. Now, this is what's interesting for me is I wasn't planning on doing it this way, but so if you have ChatGPT, the second thing you need to install is this web chat GPT extension. I believe it's also free. And so I'm going to go ahead and just switch this on. This says go hit Google. And what I'm going to go hit Google for is example, we'll go with growth marketing manager resumes. Okay, so I put in my job title. I'm just going to hit enter and it's going to go and pull back a bunch of resumes, right? This is pulling back people. I could also do something like research resumes of people who do growth, demand marketing. So it's remembering the backstory in this one chat. If I open up a new chat, I lose my backstory. So I'm going to keep this chat live. I might actually go in here, resume for growth marketing, and I might end up with one of these for each of the jobs that I'm working on, okay? So I basically just loaded up a bunch of extra information, right? It's not really that important what came in. I just basically said, go out and research. The other thing I could do is I could go and find some, the name of the add-on is web chat GPT. You can see it down here on the very bottom. I'll send out a link to it. So I could also go to LinkedIn, find somebody, copy and paste their resume in, copy and paste their LinkedIn profile and say, here is an example of somebody. So for instance, I could go search for growth, demand, growth, B2B manager, LinkedIn.com. And I could probably go find somebody who does this for their job, senior demand generation manager, LinkedIn. Cool, here's somebody who does it. And so I could just go ahead and copy. I think I can turn his into a PDF, right? Let's see. So let's see. I want to save as PDF. Open up this PDF. This is giving me his resume, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and snag out his resume. And I might find 3 or 4. Now, why am I using him as my role model? Well, it's really quite simple. Like, I know this is a good resume for this job. The reason why, sorry, I'm copying and pasting wrong. The reason why I know this is a great resume for this job is because somebody hired him to do it, or her. And so therefore, it would be better if I could actually find somebody, if I was applying in a bigger company, I'd actually find somebody doing the job at the company I want to apply for, or doing the job at one of their competitors. And so I'm going to just copy this and say, here is an example. I need to turn off the web, LinkedIn profile and resume for someone who currently does the demand generation marketing manager job that I'm interested in. I'd like to use their resume as a role model for mine. Cool. So I just fed it all of this information, right? Now, at this point, I have given ChatGPT, the web access extension says, go run a Google search, bring back research, right? So now I'm just working from ChatGPT's own model plus the context I fed it. Now, at this point, I've gathered back a bunch of information. I want to put together a plan of attack for me to create a resume and apply for an open B2B demand generation okay, so now I'm telling it what I want to do. Awesome. I pulled the information. I pulled that stuff in. Now I'm going to go over to LinkedIn really quick while it's writing that out. I'm going to go find my own profile, right? So here's my own profile. I'm going to save it as a PDF. I'm going to open it up. Here's me. I'm going to snag this thing. Oh, I hate this on the Mac. It's the most annoying. So I'm going to snag this that says who I am. Copy this. And I'm going to come back over to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, can you compare my resume to the resume? I'm going to say resume from my to the above resume and job ads to help me rewrite it. Here is my current resume and LinkedIn profile. And now the magic's about to start happening. So based on your job ad sample, I can provide you with some suggestions to improve your current resume. Your summary should whatever, experience should be this. It should highlight certain things, skills, education, right? Here's an example. Ryan Kohler, marketing strategist, demand generation, product innovation. Here's my summary. Here's my experience, right? Now, I can take and adjust this to focus more on it. When I was at Applicant Pro, I most definitely did a whole lot of marketing. I most definitely did a lot of B2B marketing. I might look at this now and say, you know, based off of this, here's some more information, LinkedIn profile, update your headline, like literally just told me what to do. Now I might look at this and say, what are the most used and relevant keywords from the example resume and the example job ads that I need to make sure to include in my resume. Now, this was the question. This was the question about beating the ATS system, how to apply with ADS, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the way we're thinking about it is this is just a generic list of core keywords that I want to make sure are in my resume and cover letter and my LinkedIn profile based off of those job ads. If I had a very specific job and I want, so I might say, rewrite my LinkedIn profile and resume to ensure that it includes and highlights my. Okay, so now at this point, I have a problem. And so I'm going to show you the next step. And here's the problem. My resume, my LinkedIn profile, if I come over here, talks about my time at Applicant Pro as the CEO of Refer. Are AI, ATS systems now AI? No. They have some AI built in, but not really. Because I know this because I build them, right? So I have founder at Applicant Pro. I have a 17-year history at Applicant Pro. I've done literally everything there, including take out the garbage. I've done so much stuff at these two jobs. that I need to highlight the stuff that matters for the job I'm applying to, right? And so this is where we now need to gather some information. And so I'm going to say, I've had a 20-year career that is varied and covers all types of B2B growth, SaaS, product, marketing, sales, etc. But I need to focus my resume on specifically my demand generation and marketing to B2B skills and experience, right? Because that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to adjust my resume to make it just a badass B2B lead gen marketing resume, not a I start companies resume. Now, is that a lie? No, I can totally do that job. I've done that job. I've crushed that job. And I may be looking for that to be my job, but I could also just easily be applying for a product manager job and I need a different resume. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, gosh, I got to get some more knowledge out of this. And I am not a typer. As you have to know at this point, I'm not great at typing or spelling. I'm more of a talker. You don't need to worry. Hang on, I'm going to get Otter. I'm about ready to fire up Otter and literally blow your mind in a second here. So I've had this 20-year career at Applicant Pro. I could put in, I've grown organically, grown it to 10,000 B2B clients, built marketing and lead gen engines, and everything in between, from webinar marketing, trade show marketing, email marketing, social sharing, and paid social. So I have this background. Here's where I want to jump the ship here. What I'm going to do is say, can you create a list of interview questions that I can ask myself to pull from my brain, my work history and experience that is most relevant to a demand gen, one of the example job ads above. Okay. And so now it's going to give me a list of questions, right? These are, to be honest, the questions that somebody would ask me in an interview, right? These are the exact questions that most likely, I might also say, specifically, I want to apply for this job at Lendio. Can you use the following job ad as an example to refine these interview questions? And so now I'm going to go grab the actual job I wanted, right? There was a Lendio job kicking around here somewhere. This was the route job. Here is the Lendio job. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to slam this back into ChatGPT to get another list of questions. All right, now I'm ready to fire up Otter. So this is going to spit out, I'm going to open up my phone really quick here. I'm going to grab Otter, the app on here. Otter is basically just a voice recording app. There's a bunch of different ways you could use it. There's other apps you can use, but literally what I'm using Otter for, I'll show you, I'll turn it on here. I want to do a new recording. I'm using Otter so that it will transcribe what I'm saying here. My goal is just to get as much of this information out of me by talking it instead of typing it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my phone right here. I'm going to scroll up to the top and I'm going to ask myself these questions. Now, you might struggle interviewing yourself on this. If you do, you could have somebody ask you the questions and go back and forth that way. I'm just going to ask myself, what strategies have you implemented to generate demand and leads in your previous roles? At Applicant Pro, I was the one who designed our entire lead generation strategy in the B2B world. It started off by focusing on SEO and search rankings. It then morphed into targeting human resource professionals at SHRM events and trade shows by doing thought leadership speaking. It then turned into email marketing, which was a huge thing for us in doing thought leadership email marketing. During COVID, we switched over and started targeting smaller businesses via email marketing and paid social. And I created all of the campaigns from beginning to end, from strategy to concept, to frameworks, to creating the actual content and videos, to actually typing them up and doing email blasting and paid social, right? Next one, how did you segment and target your audience to ensure the highest ROI for your marketing efforts? Oh, well, that's easy. I segmented my audiences by size of company and by the industry they're in. Based off of that, I could get shared pains. I could then come up with content that appealed to them and drive the marketing channel, by size, and by industry, right? Have you utilized email marketing to generate leads? What were some of the results you achieved? Yes, at the beginning of, I actually started by sending emails to an HR list of over 60,000 people over the last 5 years. But in the last 3 years since COVID, I used a list of small business owners in the home repair, home services space, and I started sending emails to them. I generated $6 in ARR for every 20 cents I spent on email. Okay, so now I could go through and answer all of these. I'm going to turn it off and we're just going to use this, right? But I would go through and literally record all my answers to all of these questions. I'm just not going to do it right now. I'm going to go over and hop into Otter now. I'm going to go over to my conversations. That's not it. Might have to refresh this. It takes a minute for the conversations to come in. This one says the note is processing, right? And so this gives me the information from Otter, right? This is basically, you could type this up if you wanted. I just don't have time for that. And I'm really not great at typing. And so I'm going to go ahead now and I can grab this. I could download it. That's usually why I do export. It's going to open it up as a text file. And I'm going to basically grab this. Now, you could clean it up, right? So let's see. I'm going to go down and I'm going to find. Here we go. So here's our questions, right? Down to here. Now I could clean this up and make it super clean, but I'm literally just going to copy it and I'm going to slam it back into ChatGPT. So I'm going to say, here are my answers to the questions about my experience. And so I'm just going to feed it back in. Great. Based on your answers, here's some additional follow-up questions. Could help you further refine your experience, etc. Right? And so I'm going to just go back and forth, feed in my answers to the questions because I'm training it to know everything about me, right? Literally, I'm doing this on the fly. I've never done this before. This is not that hard, but this gives you the prompts. At this point, I can now say, can you adjust the wording on my, and I could do adjust, or can you recommend new, sorry. So the prompts can be weird sometimes. So I'm like, can you write me a new resume and LinkedIn profile for Ryan Kohler, badass mark demand generation expert. Use that fits the example resume, uses my experience and interview. Great. So now it's going to spit up a resume and LinkedIn profile for me to use, right? Now, this is just based off a small amount of information that I passed in. This experience, see, it's confused. It thinks that I worked at Lendio. I didn't. So I would want to drop that, right? I would want to drop it and answer more questions about applicant pro experience and refer experience and drop this upper one out of my resume, right? The idea here being that, so I could actually say, drop the Lendio experience. I didn't work there. That is where I want to apply. Cool. Now it's going to rewrite it, right? So now I might need to refine my experience at these two companies. And so I could say, write a list of interview questions to help me document my marketing and lead B2B lead generation experience and results at Applicant Pro and Refer.io. Now it's going to give me a new list of questions. And I would literally jump right back over onto Otter and record it again, right? Again, this is getting me kind of like, can you tell me about a successful marketing campaign you developed at Applicant Pro? How did you segment? What strategies did you implement? Can you walk me through your process for designing and executing an email marketing campaign? How did you measure the success? How do you collaborate? Literally, if I spent 15 minutes and recorded this, these are the questions that they would ask me on the interview, and I can feed those answers back into it so that it creates me an amazing resume. At this point, if I go through and answer this information, and let me just check back on where we were at, right? I've gone to Indeed. I could go to Indeed and pull resumes. If I didn't find somebody on LinkedIn, I could go find, again, our number one goal would be to grab resumes of people currently doing the job you want at the company you want to work for. That's top priority. Number two priority would be currently doing the job you want at one of their competitors. Number three would be currently doing the job at a company similar to them, so that you're kind of coming down that list, right? Based off of that, I can now say, you know, what am I missing in my experience that Lindio is looking for? So here we go. This is telling me where my problem is. They're looking for somebody who has more paid demand experience, cross-functional teams. Additionally, they require exceptional analytical skills. Finally, they're looking for somebody who has experience from managing, reporting to, and having direct accountability, blah, 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 blah. Can you come up with a list of the most likely interview questions and screening questions that Lindio might ask me about my work history at Applicant Pro and Refer? Now, if you think about what I'm doing here, it's now going to come back with a list of questions, right? These are the questions I need to prepare to answer, but I'm not really that concerned about answering interview questions yet. I'm actually going to take an interview myself to gather this knowledge, right? And I'm going to go back and answer these questions that I had above. I'm going to feed them back in because I have a lot of experience. So we're talking about 20 years of experience growing a company from 1 employee to 280. And I'm trying to pick out of it the specific experience that would be important for a marketing or demand gen job. I would have to go through a similar flow if it was product management. Now for you, you might be looking at your resume saying, no, I'm looking for a job that's exactly the same job I'm doing now, only better. And so you would have to do less of this back and forth. If you're Snail, for instance, her resume is not that long. She hasn't done that many jobs. This is going to be much faster. And she's most likely applying for a more entry-level marketing job versus me, who's applying for a high-level marketing job. I would have her go through the same thing. It's just she would be doing much, much less. And you're going to see, after I get off the call, me and Snail are going to sit down. We're both going to run this entire flow. We're going to actually record our otters, record our screen, show exactly how we did it. And so you'll be able to see the comparison between more entry-level person who doesn't exactly, has some experience and knowledge in what the job they want, but it's really more about their potential to do it versus, and their passion behind it, versus me, who has a ton of experience. And literally, I just need to create my resume so I don't look overly qualified for a marketing manager or a lead gen job, a demand gen job. So at this point, where are we at? 1 through 10. Do we understand the concepts behind how we're gathering the knowledge, how we're gathering the background data, how we're gathering the job ads and what we're trying to target, how we're gathering our role models, feeding it into here to then use this, say, wait, I need some more information. Now, I don't want you to short circuit the doing the interview with yourself. I'm telling you, this right here gives us our context. And if you don't take a few minutes to load this in. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do this for every single job. Okay, again, this web extension, Wayne, is like the least important thing that I've showed you. This really, I use it more if I need to do a lot more research. It effectively is saying, go run a Google search, bring back the top 10 results in the past month in the United States for whatever I tell it to search for. Yeah, lots to remember. Don't worry, Ken. Oh, you're okay. I've got a training. This is recorded, so I'll send it back to you. And if you're interested in doing this, I actually have a 14-day build your resume challenge. And so today was just like a big brain dump. We're actually going to spread it out. So if you're interested in this, you can shoot me an email. I'll give you an email address at the end. I will send you it in small chunks so that over 14 days, you can actually do it one day at a time. So you're like, today I'm going to go find 3 jobs. Tomorrow I'm going to go do this. The next day I'm going to go. So I'll actually spread this out into like a 2-week period if you want to take it slower and go one step at a time so that you really understand how to do it by the time we're done. So, so at this point, I now have all of these questions. And so I can now say, I would take and I would copy and paste out of here my resume, right? Based off of everything I put together. I'm just going to show you just for really quick, just to grab it out of here. I could just go ahead and copy this out. I could fire up a brand new Google Drive doc. Now, this top secret, Control-Shift-V or paste special. You want to use paste special or paste without formatting. That's Control-Shift-V so that you don't get all the stuff. Now, that means you're going to have to go and clean it up, which I totally understand you will. And so I want to get my resume nailed down over in ChatGPT first, copied over, and now I'm going to format it. You can see going on and thinking you missed something. You don't, again, like do the first round, create a resume, apply. You might go back and forth a little bit. I wouldn't just overstate it. The cool thing is it's less about how long you spend interviewing. You could spend as long as you want. When you come here to write the resume, you're going to say, shorten this up to 1 page. At this point, now that I've fed it all of this information, I said, grab me a resume. Here's my resume. I can go clean it up. But I can also go back now and use prompts for my LinkedIn profile. And so I could say, can you help me write some witty and engaging content for my LinkedIn profile? And now it's going to help me with that part, right? See, so since I had the web access turned on, it did the wrong thing. I don't want to generate that. So here I am. Can you help me write some witty and engaging text for my LinkedIn profile for Ryan Kohler? Yeah, like I said, AG, like we're talking about 300 hours of me screwing around with this thing. Like I use this literally every day, all day long. And so can you help me write some witty and engaging text for my LinkedIn profile for Ryan Kohler based, on the above, right? And so it's going to say, these are suggestions, right? Now I could, to minimize the applicant age issues. Okay, so that's a great question. I might be too old. When I have it rewrite my resume, I'm going to tell it. So I might say reformat my resume to be focused on the growth of my marketing and gen experience projects. So I'm going to make it project-based, not year-based, right? So reformat my resume to be project-based instead of job-based so that it shows a history of my marketing projects and results over the years as they became more strategic, complex, and bigger in budget, right? So this would allow me to switch my resume. So that's one of the things. If you have a work history that looks like the work history of the people that you're wanting the job, this is literally just, I want a better job doing what I'm doing now at a better company. I'm making one level up. Hey, this progression makes sense. I don't have gaps in my history. It flows from, I got a degree, I got an internship, I did this job, it clearly prepared me for this job. Great. You can use your normal kind of date-based resume because those dates are showing your progression up the channel. The problem is if you have had a varied career and you specifically are wanting to apply for a specific job that is one part of what you know how to do, we instead want to create a project-based resume. This is based off of showing our projects, project by project. We might mention where we did it at, but we're basically saying, I have this journey I've gone on, my marketing journey of getting projects that are bigger, more complicated, and more successful as I've gone. And I might actually have to say, look, I want to build a career journey through demand, B2B demand generation and marketing resume that follows my progressively bigger and more successful projects. Can you write a list of interview questions to help me document my projects over the past 20 years, right? So going back to that, is age an issue? The way you get around age is an issue is you completely reformat your resume. If you feel like this is an age problem, if you feel like I'm overly qualified, I'm switching careers from one to another, it's causing me harm, that means we switch from a what's it called, calendar-based resume, a progressive experience based off of the jobs you've had, over to a project-based resume where you're like, throw away all my other stuff. I want to focus in on my journey in marketing. And so in this instance right here, this will give me my flow. What was my first project in demand generation and marketing? How did you approach it? What were your results? What was your most successful project? Can you walk me through a time when you had to pivot your marketing strategy? How have marketing projects? Like literally, I would just interview myself on this in Otter and feed it back in and say, okay, now I want to create a project-based resume. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I'll create the resume. I'll send it back out to you so you guys can see it. So you'll see the end result of my resume. You'll see the end result of my LinkedIn profile. But at this point, and you'll see exactly how both me and Snail went about doing it. You'll see our prompts. That's really what you want to see here. And so this, if I feed it back in, will now give me the information I need to now create my resume and create my LinkedIn profile. So once I have fed that back in, I could then say, based off my interview answers, help me create a project-based resume. I will send you out the prompts for this. As Snail and I do it over the next few days, if we will send you out the prompts to show you exactly what prompts we did. It is an important distinction. Yeah, you're dead on right. It is a huge distinction. And it is I'm on a journey in the prescribed way to get to this job, and I've been stepping on the right path all the way there, or I'm on my own journey, I'm making my own way, and this might not seem like the most likely next step, but I believe and know I can do it. But all this other stuff I've done is noise, and I want to get the noise and distraction out. Those are the two options for your resumes you're going to create. For me, clearly, as somebody who's old, I have gray hair on my beard, has an MBA, has all kinds of different jobs, from product to marketing to sales to management, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to, the goal of my resume is not to flex how awesome I am. So that's the distinction, especially when you jump over to the project one. The goal of your resume is not to flex how amazing you are. What that leads us to say is, I've been doing this for 20 years. My resume should be 10 pages long. I can literally write a book on it. Hey, that's an ego talking. That's not our goal. The goal of our resume is to show an employer why we are a fit for the job and what they're looking for, and why we will be able to do it. Why I will be able to do it has nothing to do with all the other things I've done that don't relate to it. And so that is an important distinction in making your switch of what kind of resume am I going to create. Abigail is most likely going to create a very different project-based one, but hers is still project. So if we think about it, in the middle, we have a normal resume. It's based off of what job you did and when and your path. And that's if it looks like a ladder. Is there a way to save the session content? Yeah, it does. It does save it, comes back. These are all my previous sessions in here. You could copy and paste it out, right? And so our normal middle ground is, I'm just climbing the ladder like it's supposed to be. I'm more than happy to do an example of that. But Ryan and Snail are two extremes. It is, hey, I took my own path. I have a wealth of knowledge, but I want to focus just in on what will get me this specific job. Or, hey, I don't have a lot of experience, but I have done projects and learned how to do this stuff. I need to find a way to explain it in a way that will get me an interview where I can prove to them I really can do this job. Two different scenarios, and we'll do an example in the middle. The middle example is about as easy as it gets, right? So those are our three types of resumes to flow. Using this, I can now have it write me, create a example project-based resume for Ryan Kohler. And it would create me the resume. Clearly, I didn't just load in my interview stuff. Oh, can you create a cover letter? John, I can create all kinds of good stuff. It's not really for this session, but I'll give you a quick, I'll give you just as we're ending here, I'll give you a flow of kind of what we would need to do. So just give me a second and it's about ready. So now, once again, I didn't go through and redo that interview. I should have. If I went back and redid this interview of these questions, which is what I'll do after this call, this would become even more legit of a resume. So now I have my resume. Now I need, can you help me create some witty and engaging content for my LinkedIn profile? Start with my intro and overview. Now it's going to help write. My mom went to Dixie College. I know, I went to Dixie College. So this will, now I can go section by section through LinkedIn and have it write out the information. I might put, can you write out a description of my progressive marketing projects while at Applicant Pro for my LinkedIn profile? Now it's going to do that. You see, I'm adjusting my LinkedIn profile to be very focused, just like my resume, on the job I want and the fact that I can do it, and removing some of the noise and distraction, not because I'm lying, but because it's not important, because of where I'm at. Snail will have to add more stuff to her LinkedIn profile, less about work experience, more about projects she's done and the HubSpot training she went through and et cetera, in order to pad her resume up to show that she has done it, just not quite as a full-time job. And so this gives me each of my sections to load into LinkedIn. Now, John's question was, can you help create a cover letter? Totally. So I want to, can you help me write a cover letter to apply for the job at Lendio? Sure, here's the cover letter. Now, once again, it would have done a better job if I had, Our employer is going to be interested in such a new form of functional resume, especially a space constraint. I'll tell you how, this is an entire process of how to go about doing it, but I'll give you my main input. You create the resume that presents you as the product they want to buy. Now, will employers push back on that? Potentially, yeah, they might. But the fact of the matter is, if you're trying to jump into a different career, the employers who hate it, you're not going to want to work for them anyway. So our goal is instead to point it at employers. That's why I was so specific about the size of my target job. I'm not going to submit this type of application to Google or to Facebook. They're way outside of my realm. I need to make sure when I'm making this leap, either adjusting my flow, like leveling up like Snail, where she's jumping up into a role, or where I'm adjusting and specifying, or I'm getting more broad, I'm switching my path. I'm going to have to find the right job with the right employer that I'm most likely to get the job at. That's number one. Number two, when we get into how to apply, I'm not going to go to Indeed and apply for this job at Lendio, just so that everybody knows. That is not how I'm going to apply. I'm going to go and find who I know that works at Lendio, and I'm going to apply through their ATS system and put that person's name down as the person who referred me. I'm going to go find the HR person. And so this cover letter right here, right? Here's my cover letter. That's awesome. But now I want to write, can you write a paying letter to the CEO of Lendio, or the person I would be reporting to explain how I am the man for the job to solve the challenges they are facing. Now, a paying letter is going to be quite a bit more aggressive, right? Now, a paying letter is what I would send with my resume to the CEO or to the owner. Now I still am going to apply through their ATS system. I'm still applying through there. I'm going to put that person's name down, but now I'm going to go network into the CEO. I'm going to network into the manager over the job. I'm going to network into the HR person, and I'm going to reach out to them. I have my employee referral recommendation. I'm going to reach back out to that person, say, hey, yo, I just applied for the job. Thanks so much for referring me. This doesn't have to be a tight connection. I could probably find a couple people on the work at Lendio in my network, go find them locally, network into them in a Facebook group, reach out to them, say, hey, I'm really interested in working at Lendio in this type of job. I'd love to interview you and hear about like what it's like to work there. I just need one meeting, one coffee, one interview, one chat session to kind of engage them and ask the magic question, which is, hey, I see that you guys are hiring for X. Are you okay if I put your name down as the person who referred me? You're not saying, will you vouch for me? You're not saying anything like that because they don't know you. You're just saying, are you okay if I put your name down as the person who referred me to apply for this job? That's it. By putting their name down in the ATS, you just increased your chance of getting an interview by 10 times. You just do, because I have the math from my clients. 10 times more likely to get an interview. By now networking over to the HR person, the CEO, etc., that's going to increase my chances of getting an interview even more. Now, if I really want to increase my chances, I'm going to start posting content and information like I'm doing the job. I'm going to actually have ChatGPT help me create content around what they're looking for. So for instance, I might, now I've got this, I might take and say, hey, I want to create a witty flow of content to use when I request a LinkedIn connection with the CEO of Lendio, with the potential manager over this job, and with the human resources manager. Get their attention, but not be too pushy. Cool. Now it's going to give me some examples of what I would say in the LinkedIn message that I would use to connect to them, right? I could also say, write an email. I could say, write an introduction. And we're getting into some of the stuff that comes in the next one, but I could say, write an introduction email to send to those same people, the same 3 people at Lendio. Now it's going to write an introduction email. Now, understand, I never said not to apply through the ATS. Don't be that person. Trust me, HR wants your application to go through the ATS. That's just how it is. The way we subvert the ATS was, number 1, we made sure we had the right keywords based on the job ad and our resume. Number 2, we had ChatGPT open to the screen while we were applying. So if it asks us a question, we can have it give us an answer. We can have it interview us, pull back the content, and give us the answer. Number 3, we have a referral. So that's the way we subvert to make sure that we're most likely to be seen. Then we take and we level up our chances by replying back to the person who referred us so that they know, so they might say something to HR, and networking directly via LinkedIn and email with the HR person, the manager, and anybody else we know there who might be important enough to get our foot in the door. Those things just leveled that. That means we're going to get people looking at our LinkedIn profile. If that's the case, I'm probably going to go, can you come up with a series of LinkedIn posts and articles that Ryan Kohler should publish about his experience and knowledge in the world of B2B lead generation. Now, what is my goal of this? Well, it's really quite simple. Where a resume is more static, LinkedIn gives me the ability to post content and articles. And so I might actually have it come up with, like, imagine if Lendio was looking at this and said, oh my gosh, Ryan just published a piece of content on the future of B2B lead generation trends to watch for in 2023 and beyond. I could post that in my LinkedIn profile. Do you want to know how I would write that article? It's really quite simple. I would come down here and I would say, let's research the future. Research the future of B2B lead generation trends to watch for in 2023 and beyond. I'm now going to hit Google. I'm going to pull back some research, right? This is pulling information back to me because I'm about ready to write some content. If you follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook, this is one of the core things that I believe most people fail at. Most of us are consumers, not creators of information. We are not, we consume it. We read other people's information. We might be likers. We like it. We might be commenters, but we are not creators. We don't actually put out information. It doesn't have to be that we're a writer. A creator is somebody who posts information, unique ideas or questions. So based off of this, I just did some research. And so I could say, based off of the above research, come up with 5 witty article titles that I could write to publish on LinkedIn to show my thought leadership and experience in B2B lead generation and demand marketing. So this is taking us that next level, right? Now, here's the cool thing. You're going to look at this and say, Ryan, you just spent an hour and a half doing that. That seems like a lot of work just to apply for one job. No, that was a lot of work. Actually, it was very little work to train my job application bot for growth marketing jobs. I now have this piece right here. I can come back at any time and feed it another job ad and say, hey, I just found this other job ad. Can you adjust my resume for it, write a cover letter for it, write a pain letter for it, et cetera, et cetera. Not a problem, Randy. Thanks for coming. We're going to wrap up here in a minute anyway. I'm going to put together the stuff and I'll start sending you out. If you send me an email, Ryan@Refer.io, I'm more than happy to help you. Make sure you include your resume, example resumes of people that you think would be that you are your role models, a couple jobs that you're interested in, and what your target is. If you email me that, I will actually use it as an example and record the example of helping you with it. So if you're like, oh my gosh, this seems like a lot, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do it. You have three main options right now. Option number 1, I have 5 more webinars coming up. Join the webinar, attend the webinar, watch the recording of it, and I will walk through step by step both how to do each part, but also what me and Snail did. Number 2, watch for the emails. I'm going to be sending out emails over the next 14 days, specifically on this resume challenge, and I will walk through only for marketing jobs. No, this works for anything. It will work for any job at all. I'll show applying to a different type of job, but you can tell me anything. So if you're saying, oh, I'm not marketing, I'm something different, awesome. Send me your resume, send me some example jobs that you want to apply for, send me some role models of people doing those jobs right now. If you email that to Ryan@Refer.io, I will show you how I would do it if I was you. So I'm going to show you mine and Snail's, but if you want to see something similar, just like, or more specific to you, just send me an email. Okay. So that's option number 2. And option number 3 is literally send it to me and I'll show. Oh, the last option is, yeah, you can send it to me and I'll try it for you if you're willing to be a case study. So if you follow along, I'm going to unpack it. Just be patient. We will give this out over the next 2 weeks, step by step, how to go about creating an awesome resume. We will cover how to apply some of the stuff that I just kind of showed you, how to create a pain letter, how to create a cover letter, how to apply to the job. I'll show you how to network into it, how to engage that network, how to update your LinkedIn profile, how to start doing those things. If you are overwhelmed at this point, take a deep breath. We just have to make progress, okay? So take a deep breath. Nana, send me your stuff. I'd be more than happy to use you as a case study. Here is the deep breath of this. If you will commit to giving me some of your attention for the next 2 weeks, it doesn't have to be a lot, and doing this one step at a time, I guarantee you will increase your chances of getting a job you want. That said, like just Ryan, Ryan@Refer.io. I'll send it out to you guys. There you go. Ryan@Refer.io. Okay, so that's my email address. Send me over that information if you want to be in the case study. The rest of you, I will drip this out and send you step by step exactly how we're going to go about doing this. Just follow along. Today's goal was a huge unpack. I'm going to slow it down and we'll go one step at a time over the next 2 weeks. And I will guarantee that you will massively increase your chance of getting a job. Now, why should you not be overwhelmed? Take a deep breath. Literally, if all you walk away from tonight is, I need to write a better resume that more matches the job ads, I need to use ChatGPT as I apply, and I need to find an employee referral, just those 3 things right there will 10x your chances of getting an interview. Full on. And so my email was posted in the chat. I'll post it one more. Oh, wait, I know what's wrong. Abigail, maybe you can throw my email in here. It's Ryan@Refer.io. Yeah, this is like now for those of you that look at this piece and you're like, this is cool, I'm going to get a job. I want, how do I really use this in the future? In the future, our webinars will go from, okay, now I got the job. How do I actually prepare for the first 90 days? I'll show you how to do projects to get the job. I'm going to show you how to map out your first 90 days, how to create your own training program, how to document out what's wanted. I will show you how to do whatever job it is you get better than anybody's ever done it before. And so part of this will be that part. The final part will be, because you're using ChatGPT to do this, it should be a skill on your resume. And there's two real ways to use ChatGPT in your future to get a better job. Option one is I'm going to show you how to actually help other people rewrite their resumes and be kind of like a career coach. Really easy. If you want a side hustle being a career coach, I can help you do that. Number two will be, how do you actually go into some programs where you can use ChatGPT at work? Like if you're a marketing person or something like that, can you use URLs to input content rather than copy and paste? No, not really. I generally copy and paste my content into ChatGPT. It just works better. You can try to use it that way, but you should get in the habit of copying and pasting in and pulling it back out. It just works better that way. It's more specific. So Hannah, I love that feedback. As we're wrapping up here, I'd love to hear 1 through 10. I want to know, number one, how you rate this presentation. Number two, I'd love to hear some type of a quote I can use. It's like, oh my gosh, this is, it's been quite an eye opener. Anything like that. I'd love to hear the feedback. Gosh, you guys are amazing. There you go. This is awesome. I have loved to be here tonight. Like I said, I have your email addresses because you signed up for this. I will take and put you into our drip sequence. It's free. We will be walking over the next two weeks, one email at a time, from taking your resume from zero to hero. I know your head's now spinning, so I'm going to slow it down. So over the next 2 weeks, unless you hate my guts and don't want to hear it, I'm going to show you the recording. I'm going to show you how me and Snail did it ourselves. I'm going to break it down into bite-sized chunks, and we're going to go from 0 to done, right? When we get done with this, all I want back is a handful of things from you guys. Number one, I want you to tell more people about it. I want you to share it with your friends and coworkers. I want you to invite them to those groups so that we can get them in the same flow. And so I'll show you, as we're doing it, how to invite them into our 14-day free Rewrite Your Resume challenge. So you can put them right in there. I want you to share it. I want you to talk about it. I want you to invite as many people as possible, because really this is being Refer Buddy. That's our goal, is to be your buddy and helping you get a better job. And then we'll progress from there. So thanks so much for spending your evening with me. I'm going to go find some dinner. It was amazing. And we will talk to you maybe tomorrow. Watch your emails.